Have you ever seen the panic in your students' eyes during revision week when exam time approaches? That look that says, "Oh my God, how will I remember all this stuff?" You spent months teaching them, you've explained concepts over and over again, you've given assignments and classwork. Yet, when exam time comes, it's like some of them have never even heard of the topics before. I know that feeling. It can be so frustrating when you know that you taught the material, your students learned the material, but it just can't seem to recall it during exams. But what if I told you that forgetting isn't their fault? What if I told you that our brains are actually designed to forget things unless we use specific techniques to make information stick? I've been researching and testing memory strategies for years in classrooms across Africa and beyond, and today I am sharing 7 powerful techniques that will transform how your students remember information before exams. These aren't just theories. These are practical, classroom-tested methods that work whether you are teaching in Lagos, Accra, Nairobi, Johannesburg, Lusaka, or even New York. Stay with me to the end because one of these techniques is actually so powerful that my student retention improved by over 80% when I started using it. Plus, I will review the biggest mistake most teachers make that actually sabotages their students' memory right before exams. Welcome back to my channel where I share practical teaching strategies that work in real African classrooms. I am Coach Favor, an educational coach and school consultant. If you're new here, you are joining at the perfect time because today's strategies will change how your students prepare for exams. If you love practical, evidence-based teaching tips that consider our unique educational challenges, then hit the subscribe button now and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's get right into today's topic: how to help pupils remember everything before exams. Technique 1: spaced repetition. This first technique is pure gold, but most teachers don't use it because they don't understand the science behind forgetting. You see, there is something called the forgetting curve that was discovered over 100 years ago. It shows that students forget almost 70% of what they learn within 24 hours if they don't review it. So instead of teaching a topic once and moving on forever, try this spaced repetition schedule. First review: 24 hours after teaching, meaning that your first review of a particular topic should come 24 hours after teaching. So if you taught addition today, the review should come tomorrow. Second review: 1 week after teaching. Third review: 2 weeks after teaching. And fourth review: 1 month after teaching, and it goes on and on. These reviews don't need to be long. Even just 5 to 10 minutes or 2 to 3 questions can make a massive difference. For example, let's say you teach addition in week 2. Throughout that week, you consistently give your pupils different addition questions for their classwork. Now, when you move to week 3 and start teaching subtraction, don't completely drop addition. If they are to answer 5 classwork questions, 3 should come from subtraction, while 2 should still be from addition. This pattern should continue from Monday to Friday. When you get to week 4 and start teaching multiplication, their classwork should be balanced. 2 questions from multiplication, 2 from addition, and 1 or 2 from subtraction. By the time you introduce division, probably in week 5, you can increase the number of class questions to 8. 2 from division, 2 from multiplication, 2 for subtraction, and 2 from addition. Yes, here is why this method works. When a child keeps solving addition and subtraction questions every single school day, or keeps learning about tenses and nouns and pronouns and sentences every single school day from week 2 to week 10, they are far less likely to forget. This is also applicable in every other subject. Make sure that you throw questions on these topics every now and then and have them respond to you. This is why we say practice makes perfect. Even your slow learners will find exams less challenging because they have been solving these types of questions daily for weeks. My people, this small change will shock you. Bring this into your classroom and you'll find out that when exam time comes, your students remember these topics like they just learned them yesterday. Technique 2. Memory palaces. Now, this second technique might sound strange, but it's been used since ancient times and it works like magic, especially for our visual learners. A memory palace uses locations familiar to students to store information. Here is how to use it. Ask students to mentally walk through their home or school compound and place different facts at specific locations. For example, when teaching the water cycle, the front door can represent evaporation. In the kitchen, you can represent condensation there. On the roof, precipitation. In the compound, collection. Once they've mastered all this, every other day, throw questions at them. Questions like, in the water cycle, what does the door tell us? They can go ahead and say, okay, water rising up, and use that idea to explain the concept of evaporation. Now, what this does is this. The representation is to help them remember all these ideas so that when they need to recall information during exams, they simply take a mental walk through their palace and pick up the facts they placed there. I tried this with my class and even my struggling students could recite all the steps perfectly weeks later. It's like giving them a mental map to store information. Technique 3. The song and dance method. Teachers, if you haven't tried this third technique, you are missing out on serious brain science. Our African cultures already know the power of music and movement for memory. Just think about how easily our students remember songs and dance routines compared to textbook facts. So here is how we can use this to our advantage. Take important facts or formulas. Put them to familiar tunes. Local songs work perfectly, and add simple movements for key points. For example, when teaching my students the planets, we created a song to the tune of Jerusalem. Yes, it was trending at the time, with movements representing each planet's size. Months later, they still remembered everything perfectly. And if you think this is just for primary school, think again. I know of senior secondary physics students who created rap songs for complicated formulas and their test scores jumped dramatically. This method works because it engages multiple parts of the brain at once, creating stronger memory connections. Technique 4. The teaching feedback loop. This fourth technique is powerful because it uses a principle called retrieval practice. The act of pulling information from memory strengthens that memory. Here is how it works. 1. Teach the concept. 2. Have students teach it back to you or to each other. 3. Give immediate feedback on what they got right or wrong. And 4. Have them teach it again, incorporating your feedback. When students have to explain concepts in their own words, they can't hide gaps in their understanding. And when they have to teach something multiple times with improvement, the information gets locked into their long-term memory. I call this the teach until perfect method, and it works wonders, especially for complex topics like mathematics or science concepts. Technique 5. Mind mapping in color. This fifth technique is a game changer, I promised. It transformed my students' retention rates dramatically. Most students take notes in a linear fashion, just writing sentences one after another. But our brains don't work like that. Our brains think in connections and associations. Here is what to do instead. 1. Start with a central concept in the middle of the page. 2. Branch out key ideas using different colors. 3. Add images or symbols. They don't have to be artistic. Even simple stick figures work. 4. Connect related concepts with lines or arrows. For example, when teaching photosynthesis, green branches can be for what plants need, such as sunlight and water, and yellow branches for what happens inside the leaf, and blue branches for what plants produce, such as oxygen and glucose. The colors and visual layout on the board or on your textbook tap into how our brains naturally organize information. When exam time comes, students can literally see the entire topic in their mind's eye. I started teaching this to my students, and their test scores in science improved by over 80%. That's the power of working with your brain instead of against it. Technique 6. The 3R method. Record, reduce, and recall. This sixth technique is especially powerful for preparing for exams with lots of content like WAEC, JAMB, or metric exams. Here is how the 3R method works. 1. Record. Here, students take comprehensive notes during lessons. 2. Reduce. Here, they condense these notes into key points, about 1/3 of the original length. And 3. Recall. They reduce again to just keywords or triggers, about 1 page. The magic happens through this progressive summarization. Each time students condense their notes, they must decide what's most important and how concepts connect, which means they are processing the information deeply. By exam time, they have 3 versions of their note: the full version for initial understanding, the reduced version for revision, and the super condensed version for quick review before entering the exam hall. I've tried this with students sitting for external exams, and the results were amazing, especially for subjects with massive contents like history or literature. Technique 7. Sleep-powered learning. This last technique might surprise you because it's not about doing more, but about doing less. Research shows that sleep is when our brains actually cement new learning into long-term memory. Without proper sleep, all the studying in the world won't stick. So instead of encouraging all-night reading, teach your students this pattern. 1. Study intensely for 45 to 90 minutes. 2. Take a 10 to 15-minute break. 3. Review the most important points right before sleeping. 4. Get a full night's sleep, 7 to 9 hours. 5. Do a quick review first thing in the morning. This rhythm works with our brain's natural memory consolidation processes. The quick review before sleep tells the brain, "This is important, process this tonight." And the morning review activates the newly formed neural connections. When I taught this to my exam year students, many couldn't believe it worked better than their all-night reading sessions, but their results spoke for themselves. Now, I promise to reveal the biggest mistake that sabotages students' memory before exams, and that mistake is cramming everything in the final week. When students try to learn everything just before exams, they are working against how their brains naturally form memories. It's like trying to eat a month's worth of food in one day. Most of it will be wasted. Instead of this last-minute approach, teach your students to start exam preparation at least 6 to 8 weeks in advance. Focus on understanding, not memorizing. Use regular spaced reviews rather than marathon sessions, and practice recalling information, not just rereading their notes. There you have it, educators. 7 powerful techniques to help your pupils remember everything before exams. And most importantly, start early and avoid the cramming trap. These techniques work whether you are teaching in Nigeria or outside of Nigeria because they are based on how the human brain actually works, not on fancy resources or technology. Which of these techniques will you be trying first with your students? Do let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with your fellow teachers, and subscribe for more practical teaching strategies that work in real classrooms. Until next time, keep empowering young minds and transforming education across Africa and beyond. Bye!